Hey folks, welcome to my hilarious world. Lisa doesn't buy it, but she pushed herself into the table's middle and noticed something was wrong. What the heck are you doing, you jerk? Frustrated, Lisa wanted to show David who's boss, only to be startled by what she saw. Her hand passed right through David as if he were a puff of smoke. Enraged, she suddenly tried to shove him over. But to her surprise, she flew out the window like a cartoon character, only to reappear in the room a moment later. Although Lisa accepted the fact that she was a ghost now, she wasn't about to give up. She launched an endless spiritual war to get rid of David. She constantly watched David, daring him not to take off his pants while showering. Though used to Lisa, he still jumped at every sight of her. Another one, my precious, after a few days of haunting. David couldn't live a normal life, not even enjoying watching TV. Lisa's haunting made him miserable until he finally snapped. You know what, that's it. I've tried my best, but you have to leave here now. To completely rid himself of Lisa, David called a priest, but that old trick didn't scare Lisa one bit. A little bit, just a tiny bit more, since the Western method didn't work. How about the Eastern way? They set up a snazzy ritual, and everything went smoothly, but it was a flop. Lisa's spirit was like a bad penny, are you sure? Of course, I brought him here. Let me fetch myself for him. After multiple flops, David reluctantly invited the bookstore guy, who was just chilling on the couch. After a moment of zen, he sensed Lisa's presence and told David that her spirit was exceptionally mischievous. She was equally adamant about staying. He advised David to move to avoid Lisa, but David refused. He insisted Lisa, not he, should leave. The guy rubbed his temples in defeat. He then told David that Lisa wasn't dead, but because another spirit was stirring in David's heart. And this spirit was someone he didn't want to forget. I don't want to talk about it, I get it. You lost it. It must be a person, rather than a gun in his butt. Shut up. I'm sorry for your failures. Say one thing to smart girls fight for respect from the dead. It dawned on Lisa that her throwaway joke touched on David's deep pain, and she went to find him on the roof. She sincerely apologized for her earlier words. Seeing David unresponsive, she began to share her dream of creating a magical garden. She had wished countless times to turn the rooftop into a garden, but work always got in the way. Though this dream seemed elusive now. Lisa intended to coax David into sharing his frustrations, but accidentally touched his sore spot. Most friends to the dead think useful conversations matter. I don't want to chat. After the emotional flood, David's heart settled, yet he became a locked castle, keeping all memories of his wife sealed. He avoided talking about his wife, roaming the empty streets like a lost soul in search of liberation. Eventually, he stumbled into a dimly lit bar, attempting to numb his senses with alcohol, while his buddy Jack waited. Jack even arranged a meeting with some lovely ladies, hoping David would bounce back from his slump, but David was too distracted. Lisa knew David was slowly sliding into the abyss of pain, but couldn't persuade him to halt his descent. After futile attempts to talk him out of it, Lisa decided to give David a lesson, but he instinctively dodged. But to Jack, it looked like a spontaneous dance, and he was thrilled to see David. David finally broke free from his pain and regained the groove of life, only for another problem to arise. He began talking to thin air. Lisa warned David again, trying to stop him from drowning in alcohol, but he was deaf to her pleas. In a panic, Lisa jumped into David's body, making him spin around uncontrollably in the bar, even slapping. This bizarre act puzzled everyone. His hands seemed controlled by two brains, one wanting a drink, the other resisting. I'm sorry. He could only flee the scene in embarrassment, finally exiting the bar. Not until leaving the bar did Lisa let go. Alone in the park, David thought had ditched Lisa. But Lisa followed like a shadow, and even she couldn't explain why she just kept trailing David. Maybe it was because in this world, she felt David could help her realize her buried dreams. Aren't you the one who requested my assistance? All right, then. Okay, let's find out who I am. David decided to help Lisa recover her memories. He asked the apartment neighbors about Lisa, and surprisingly, no one knew her at all. They only knew she rarely came home and hardly ventured out, and the name Lisa was unheard of. In his disappointment, he found a faded receipt at home. He and Lisa traced the address to a dry cleaner, where the owner studied the receipt carefully and finally recalled something about Lisa. She described Lisa as a beautiful but quiet girl who always seemed melancholic, always rushing and like she had a ton on her mind. So she didn't have detailed info on Lisa. The trail ended there until they passed a residence. Lisa mentioned she seemed to recognize the place. David rang the doorbell. A middle-aged man opened the door. David described Lisa, who resembled the man's girlfriend. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe. That way, you won't miss any more hilarious moments.